Good morning. Good morning to the folks in the audience. I think we're going to talk about a very important subject today in terms of health, nutrition, and sustainability, and how we, all of us in the food business, play a part in this. Very warm welcome to the members of this panel, and thank you for joining me here. Today we're going to have some issues about the issues that are facing us today, very, very big issues, and some of these issues are going to only compound as we go into the future. So what I'm going to do to set context here is to throw light on a few facts. These facts are interrelated, and how this is going to affect food systems as we go forward into the future. So the first part, one, the big thing about climate change, right? So everybody is talking of climate change, and as we speak today, there's a big conference happening in the Middle East about climate change. Now, we in agriculture and the food production system contribute to about 40% of the greenhouse gases, right? Whether it is in growing crops or whether it is in value adding to those crops, etc., etc. Interest is that most of this greenhouse gases, which is 40%, is more than all the trucks, buses, aeroplanes, all combined put together. So as food production goes, it's a large contributor of greenhouse gases. The second fact is about population growth. So by the time we go from now to 2050, we are going to have 10 billion people on this planet, which means between now and 2050, we are going to add another 2 billion people. To feed 10 billion people, we need to double our food production. Setting this in context, to double food production, we need an arable land mass, which is twice the size of India. Okay. And most of this population growth is going to come from countries which are most vulnerable to climate change or the effects of climate change. The third aspect of this, as I mentioned, is where are these population growth going to come from? It's going to come from developing or third world countries, wherein they would not have access to affordable nutrition and food. Now, if you put all these three aspects together, it's a ticking time bomb, right? One is yields are going to come down because of climate change. Arable land available for agriculture is going to come down. And the bigger aspect of it is yield, along with yields, the nutrition content of the crops that are going to come out are going to slowly start decreasing. And the populations that are going to be most affected by this is going to be people in the third world countries or these developing countries. So what can we do as organizations that are involved in food production? Most of us here are in some way involved, either with agriculture or working with farmers, etc., etc., and we have you with cold chain and logistics to look at that. So I think the onus is upon us. How can we, and these changes cannot be incremental. It has to be transformational, right? So how are we going to get this transformational change with a very, very regenerative mindset and take the responsibility for producing products that are sustainable, good for the planet, good for the people, are nutritious, and most importantly, affordable and accessible to where these population growths are going to come from. So with this as context, I open this for further discussion, right? Maybe Ajay, I'll come across to you. Sorry, Ajay. You're working with a lot of farmers, right? To improve their livelihoods, to give them an additional source of income. Can you throw some light on that?
Good morning, everyone. So just to give you a very quick background introduction, so I'm Ajay. I represent a company called Westfalia Fruit. We are into production of avocados. So we grow and sell avocados globally. We have the widest footprint of avocado growing across the world. We grow in about 25 plus countries. And whatever the introduction that you had put up, it can't be farther from the truth, because we are facing a lot of challenges with the climate change, especially the El Nino, which has been going on over the last couple of years. The seasons have completely gone upside down. The There are droughts in some areas. There are floods in, especially South American countries where a lot of avocado production comes from. It's been completely affected in the last couple of years especially. But now for me to get it into the Indian context, so when we started, we were importing a lot of avocados by air. So the amount of carbon footprint which was getting on to avocados coming in. Yes, it was expensive, but also everything was flown in. Today we have moved completely towards sea shipments. 95 or 97% of our imports happen by sea. The rest of it, in the next year or two, we are looking towards getting into 50% of local production as well of avocados in the country. So we cut down on a lot of our global carbon emission footprint, which is part of Westphalia's global strategy for 2030 as well. And also working with a lot of these farms in areas like Coorg or Ooty or Munnar, and these are the kind of very ecologically sensitive areas. We have been very conscious in making sure that we introduce, so most of these tea, coffee areas have never been irrigated before. So we have, for the first time in a lot of these places, we have started putting in drip irrigation. Yes, they've done some overhead irrigations before, but drip irrigation is controlling the amount of water that we use. And that is something that we are driving regularly to make sure that our overall consumption of water and other resources are minimized for the production of avocados.
Thank you so much, Ajay. I think next, Ashu, you're not big in the field of increasing overall quality of life of farmers, farm produce, etc. Can you tell us about some of these initiatives that ITC is doing?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I think I'll answer it in two parts. One, of course, is the question you asked in terms of sustainability and how corporations are kind of building towards it. I think that is integral to ITC and has been for quite a long time. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that we've been carbon, water, and solid waste management positive for the last 20 years as an organization. So much before the world spoke about
flag bearers for this.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's integral to not only the organization but to the way our processes are and the way each of the employees are inducted and taught those. So I think that is critical to the way the future is holding out. In fact, another interesting data point is that there is the COP 2030. There are certain emission targets that have been set. Amongst that, in the hotel segment, 8 of the hotels in the world that are LEED positive today, LEED positive, which is from a carbon emission standpoint, all 8 are in India, and all 8 are ITC properties. So I think those are some of the, so that's one part of ITC. I think from the second, which is addressing the food service business, and I manage the frozen and ready-to-eat business. And I think the question one of the critical aspects of the question you're asking is also to do with wastage. India sees a huge amount of wastage in terms of agri-produce. And as part of Frozen, we've been working very hard with both the government and with our partners in the HoReCa segment in terms of building, because I think Frozen as an option to HoReCa today cuts out on wastage in a big way. Right. And I think that's one way you could, while we build on agriculture, we build on logistics in terms of green logistics to customers. I think if Frozen builds its way into menus, into customer and restaurants, there's a huge opportunity to cut wastage, which will really add back to, improving efficiencies and for the restaurant and, of course, So I think these are the two areas, and there's a lot to talk on that and what we can do in that space. Given the time constraints, I won't go into that. Right. If there are questions that I'll be happy to take, but that's clearly one area I think we can build on.
Thank you so much. And I think we'll use that as a segue to ask Tarun about, you mentioned about cold chain and how this is helping, preserve food, take it to areas that maybe require the stuff. So Tarun, can you tell us about your work in this area with Celsius?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Hi, it's absolutely a delight to be here. All right. Now, coming back to this, see, as you all see, people around me are all, veterans of food industry and all. And Probably I am the only odd one out. But am I really the odd one out? No, no. Because I heard somebody saying that there is an ecosystem getting built up. Okay, there is a thread which is tying the complete ecosystem together. That is us. So when you talk about Celsius or any other cold chain company for that matter, okay, that ecosystem rides on that. You know, we are the link between, say, a farmer to a manufacturer to a retailer to a distributor to the final consumer. So definitely that is how we work. And what is essential is, you know, that complete integrity of temperature control, complete timeliness, stat of the movements which play a part in it. See, all of you, I'm sure, are fond of, say, I saw a gentleman with a can in his hand. Right? I'm sure all of you have, and I heard somebody recalling Domino's after 40 years, just a few minutes back. Okay, I can assure you that recall after 40 years, a company like us, the thread which builds it, has played a major part in it. If we don't get Domino's, the ingredients, and then the consumers, the final product, nobody will recall anyone. So that is how the cold chain functions, and that is how we all thrive on it. So that is in brief about us.
Yeah. Thank you. Next, I'll go on to Prashant and Colonel Dinanath. You all are in food service, right? In a big way, Biggie's Burger is expanding. So can you tell us something about the ask of customers from the nutrition requirements when they come in and consume food at your food service outlets? And what are the initiatives that you all are taking to bring nutrition to the forefront?
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here amongst this elite panel. I am representing Biggie's Burger, a homegrown QSR brand, and we started our journey in 2011. Coming to the question of health, nutrition, these two aspects were the key focus areas right from the very first day of our being in existence. Along with these two things, we consistently catered for the trust factor. And believe you me, the response is so good that an endeavor started by a single person, our founder Biraja Raut, has now resulted in around 150 functional and very well-placed QSR outlets pan-India. The thing is that amongst the QSR business, these terms like pizza, burger, in every Indian family, these used to be taken as a very contemptuous terms in terms of nutrition. But over a period of time, in last 1 decade or so, entire landscape has changed. We offer grilled burgers, we offer very good non-vegetarian meat, chicken, and we ensure that our food product is thoroughly investigated, thoroughly tried, and carries the entire nutritional value to the last mile delivery. And that is the key to success. Nothing can replace the quality of food. All management techniques regarding look and feel, regarding delivery, keeping your entire apparatus in well-oiled management system. But if you are faltering on food, then I don't think that QSR is going to succeed. We started a special burger in which we had a product called Beamer, which is a baked burger, baked patty. And that is the most hot-selling item of our menu. So these small steps where we are focusing too much on our food quality has given us a disproportionate growth. That is all I had to contribute. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Khan.
Great. My name is Prashant, and I run quite a few brands. There are 9 brands that we have. We've got a pizzeria, we've got a chicken brand, we've got a vegetarian brand, and so on and so forth. I also founded a restaurant called Ishara, which is managed by people who cannot speak in here. We've got 6 of them across the country and opening 2 more. And it's a very relevant and pertinent discussion that we are having right now. Customers are very, very, very well aware and informed about the triple bottom line. We look after profit, people, and planet. What I've realized over the beyond the pandemic, everything has now become much more defined, and there are layers that we have unearthed. We all had like 2 years of doing very little, and a lot of us possibly went back to school or online, did courses from Harvard, and everything was available. Air was cleaner, etc. I remember during the pandemic, I used to drive from Powai, where I live, to Lower Parel, where my restaurant was, Ishara, to water the plants. We had spent 6 lakh rupees on plants, and we had just opened the restaurant. We were like 8 months into the restaurant, and the pandemic hit. And I used to do that, and people used to ask me, why are you doing? And I had to, at times, carry water from home as well, with those round, those circle, red, green, yellow stickers on the car. And sometimes the cop would stop you and ask, where are you going? And I would say, I'm going to water the plants. And they would laugh it out as well. But it was important, right? Challenges are temporary and business is permanent. What we also realized at that time, that and post that we have to keep it that way, at least in terms of sustainability, because things can change overnight. I think the pandemic happened almost, of course it took some months to happen, but the day it was announced that it's a shutdown, it was like all of a sudden. So we look after portion sizing, we look after, even in our chicken joint where we do crispy chicken and we do grilled burgers, etc. We make sure that we have the right fryers, which have filtration systems so that you can reuse the oil. That's very, very, very important. We make our people conscious of the amount of water that is wasted using an RO system, which we have to realize that it wastes a lot of water. What is the requirement? What was happening in the world before RO came in? There was still AquaGuard, and there was still filtration happening. So we look at a lot of things. We also look at packaging in a certain way. We obviously are very conscious of plastic. We also try to convey this to the consumer. And all our restaurants, I know the gentleman just spoke about frozen food, but all our restaurants use fresh produce, but we make it to order. We don't make it to sell. We make it to order. So even a fast food place that we've got, which is called Cha, it's a dim sum house. We sell about 500 portions of dim sums a day from a hole-in-the-wall outlet. But every dim sum is made to order. So, and still we are able to make sure that it comes in the right defined time. We do pizzas which are made to order and reach the customer's table in 8 minutes. And these are 15-inch pizzas, and they are Napoli style. So if you actually put your head to it, and I've heard the QSR guys talk about it. If you put your head to it and put the right process in place, then it can happen. See, we can contribute. We need not just do the cliched, I'm sorry to use the term, but the cliched activities for sustenance. But we can do our bit in our own way by generating consciousness amongst our employees and amongst our customers. We've got in our pizza restaurant, rather than just using herbs and just putting them out, we've got a hydroponics garden. The customer can actually pick up a basil pot, tear a basil leaf and drop it on our pizza or his pasta. So, and then put the pot back. So we are trying to do our bit. It is very difficult, and it's not advised to educate your customer. He's not coming there for education, but he's coming there to enjoy and savor your product. So there's a balance. At the end, I do believe that the planet also knows how to sustain itself.
True.
But we all do a little, and that'll work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prashant. We'll go on to Mahesh. Probably you're one of the larger, amongst us, one of the larger consumer of agro-produce, which is your primary raw material. You've been here and started a lot of work with the farming community. Can you take us through some of the initiatives, mainly with the well-being of farmers that you deal with?
Thanks. I represent Del Monte Foods, and we are privileged because we have 50% of our business coming in from retail and another 50% coming in from Horeca. And we are all about bringing our expertise in terms of bringing good stuff from farm to the fork. I'll address two parts. One is what we are doing our bit from a farming perspective, and I'll touch a little on the health and wellness part. So we truly believe, and that's what I would encourage businesses to do, is about not just look at the profits, but also look at the purpose. So we all know that health and wellness and health and well-being is 80% defined by what we ingest and 20% probably by the lifestyle and the exercise regime that we have. And as people who serve food, whether in a packaged format or in a fresh format or on the plate, that 80% is what we define. And when I talk about purpose, a very important element is we typically end up giving food to our consumers, our customers, which we personally or our families probably won't ingest. I mean, that's something as marketeers, manufacturers of food that we should avoid doing. So if something that we believe is good for ourselves, our family, that's something could be good for our consumers and customers. So as Del Monte, we clearly believe that we don't let any hydrogenated fats, palm oil enter our factory. We are very clear about that. We have taken a pledge with the CII to reduce sugar and sodium content in most of our culinary items by about 20 to 25%, and we've done that without the expense of compromising on the sensorials. You know, it's come out fairly good, all our ketchups, sauces, mayonnaise. We've cut our fat levels to the right levels, optimized levels, and also the sugar and sodium levels. And as I said, no trans fat, no hydrogenated fats entering our factory. That's something we are very clear about. So coming back to the point, whatever we sell or we expect our consumers to consume, we would also consume with pride. Our families will consume that with pride. That's the ethos and the purpose that we have. Talking about doing our good to the society in the form of farmers, we call ourselves growers of good, and we are one of the largest manufacturer or producers of pineapples globally. So we've seen this challenge, you know, the last 3 months we've seen pineapple productions coming down dramatically. We get a lot of olives from the Mediterranean. The olive crop has failed on account of climate change in Europe, and that's hitting us badly, both in olive oil as well as in fresh table olives. So one bit that we do is, you know, ensuring that whatever fruit that we are dealing in, can we make the fruit increase the longevity of the fruit? So probably basic stuff, like we are one of the biggest canneries in the world. So the pineapple that probably has about a week's shelf life in an ambient stable condition, moment we can it, we take it to about 36 months. So we do globally both a fresh pineapple business and a canned pineapple business. And in today's day and age, when pineapples for the last 3-4 months, the crop has actually failed, we've increased our component of the canning so that the consumers can get good quality pineapples in a can for a very long period of time. The other piece is, you know, we deal in a lot of other food items like corn, chilies, etc. So we do our bit to the farmers. One is in terms of the basics, in terms of the kind of seeds that they need to use. We do a fair bit of exports, and our endeavor is also to ensure that any of the products, be it corn, etc., we do export a fair bit of corns in a bottled format. We clearly ensure that our team on the ground who are engaged with the farmers are ensuring that if you look at the pesticide content, etc., is kept absolutely under control, because we are sending it to European countries. So our team on the ground has to ensure that all those is within the EU norms. So to sum it up, it's about profit with purpose. What we ingest is what we can actually give it to our consumers.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to know that the farming community that you work with is taken care of, and more, not so much for their well-being, which is very important, but also food with the purpose of preserving the planet the way it is. Thank you so much, Kanchan, for sharing that. Now I'll go on to Avinash. you're going to become big one day in terms of fresh and retail, right? So how are your supply chains based in terms of fresh? And how are you ensuring that what the consumer gets is nutritious, meets daily requirements of certain nutrients that we need? So how is Reliance going about this?
So first thing, I would like to share about what health and sustainability. These two are the recent trends which we are seeing, and I would like to share some of the customer insights what we have seen in our store. So in health segment is picking up. That is what we have seen, and we have seen the growth of plant-based food. So plant-based is the area in terms of almond milk, in terms of oat milk. These two categories are picking up very well, and peanut butter is the other area. If you look at, that is what I was mentioning in the breakfast table. Some 5 years back, we were always seeing jams and butter, which is now in most of the breakfast table, we will find peanut butter. So a larger area we are providing to the health category. So that is where vegan, organic is the one other area where we are promoting big time organic, which we have seen that organic is now becoming a mainstream to the overall store sales. And we are tying up with most of the vendors who are providing organic in multiple categories, not only grocery, but in terms of fruit and vegetables, in terms of processed food. So there are a lot of organic assortment which is being added in the store, which can also help in the sustainability practices which we are following. Then other thing regarding fresh farm sourcing. Now customer is more evolved. They would like to know the source of the product from where it is being sourced. So we are also using some modern technology like QR code to know the source of the origin, and we are also tying up with a lot of farmers in our locality, buying from them and promoting it in our store in a nice way. See, this is the locally produced form, and the customer is ready to pay premium for that because now they are more evolved in terms of their offering. The other point which I would like to add is on the sustainability. So I think sustainability is becoming a big trend now because everybody is talking about sustainability. So as a retailer, what we are doing, first thing on the layout. So in terms of lighting, so efficient uses of lighting, we are following that, how we can reduce the uses of light. So that is how we are talking to the companies, how we can efficient use our lighting practices. Then second thing is eco-friendly packaging. So I think that is one other thing which we are also talking to the brands and promoting those, in the store. The third one is, there's a concept which we are promoting in our store is a zero waste organic store. So that is one partner whom we have partnered, and we are promoting heavily on a recycle, reduce and reuse. So that is what we are promoting it in a better way, and counter that entire concept is doing very well. First time we have started that in our store, and we have seen a very great response on this overall thing. The other thing is regarding one concept which I would also like to say that how customers evolve, because earlier, like some 5 years back, nobody was aware about bean to bar or tree to bar as a concept. Now, most of the customers are looking, when they are seeing the chocolate, they are looking at whether it is from the bean to bar. So there's a separate category which is building up on a bean to bar, and the brand like there's a Kerala brand called Paul and Mike. So they are going in the further level of, and they are doing tree to bar as a concept. So you know the source of the cocoa from where it is coming. So I think, and that is one of the leading brand in spite of you have a leading brand, that brand has a very specific importance in the overall assortment, and that is gaining a good share. To sum it up, the entire health and sustainability factor, I think they both are the very important trend, and we are using multiple ways to focus on this health because we feel that this is the way going forward, and there's a larger area also which we have given in the store is a good for you space. So there's a vegan, there's a keto friendly. So more from a retailer perspective, we are also giving a larger space to this category to promote that. And also in terms of one more point which I would like to add is on the signage side. So if you look at in our traditional retail, like we are still using paper signages. So that is where now what we have also started is an electronic shelf label. So that is what we have started in our F&B section, in our staples pricing. That is reducing the paper signages, and also it is affecting the carbon reduction in the carbon waste. So I think that these are some of the practices which we as a retailer are following, and we have seen a big trend moving towards these sustainability and health practices. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Avinash. I'll just, yeah, sure.
All right. So great to hear about thing. And the last thing about the carbon footprint, amazing. See, we're talking about health, nutrition, food. All those things are very, very important. One important aspect which contributes to all this is that we need to, minimize or avoid any kind of a food ingredient wastage. All right. So now what we at SalesKills do, this is basically one of the crux of our activities. We've built up an entire ecosystem, entire chain, wherein we work at minimizing or eliminating the food wastage. So that is good not only for the health, not only from the nutrition perspective, but also for the health of our planet. So that is one constituent which I feel you people are already onto it.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tarun. So finally, we'll go on to Pradeep. Everybody is speaking of alternate protein, plant-based protein, etc., etc. We know as a country, we are one of the most protein deficient in terms of our diet. How do you propose to take, because it takes a lot of buckets, right? Sustainability, methane, all those things, all that put together. How is your industry looking at making this more affordable to the general masses? More importantly, how can we use alternate protein as a good source of protein to probably solve some of the health or protein deficiency problems that specifically children of India, mostly rural, to solve that problem? How do you propose that we look at plant-based proteins?
Sure. So being traditional source of protein for most of the people world over, as well as in India, up to about 70% people, non-vegetarian, basically the meat, has been the primary source. Apart from that, you have paneer, which delivers a good amount of protein. Rest of the products, whatever you look at, even lentils for that matter, you need to consume it in large quantities to meet the daily requirement of protein. That's why 80% of Indian vegetarians are protein deficient. 66-67% non-vegetarians are also protein deficient. When you look at the US consumption of meat, it's about 96 kgs per year per capita. In India, it's around 4 kgs. So even the meat eaters, those who think they're getting enough protein, they're not getting that much. So our effort has been to bring in something that can be appealing to both vegetarians, non-vegetarians, vegans, any dietary preference. We bring a plant-based product which will imitate the same texture of a red meat. Currently, that is the product that we have brought to market, which is 15% protein and less than 3% fat, one of the leanest protein in the market. And we have not brought it to market in a Western concept because food is culture. Our food is biryani, curries. It's not necessarily burger made at home. It's a fun food. You will have it outside. So if you want to become part of the main plate in a consumer space, it needs to be cooked the way they cook their regular food. So our effort when we started this, which was about 4.5 years ago, started with a restaurant. We opened a restaurant, spoke to more than 6,000 people to understand what they require. And eventually the product development happened with the partners that we worked with, Griffith as well. And it was a R&D cycle of almost 4 years because we firmly believe that food is prana. You can't take shortcuts in this. True. So our food has only 3 numbers, which are all naturally derived. There are no nasty stuff. And people are able to make biryani, rogan josh, kosha mangsho. Even vegetarians can just add the chunks to their, even khichdi for that matter, because it's delicious. It just complements your dish. And you can boost the protein content in your food. Now, why this will become a standard going forward is industrial animal agriculture has been at the forefront of climate change. They are in fact contributing to a bigger percentage than even the entire transportation industry put together. And that's happening because, taking an example of chicken consumes about 9 grams of protein in the nature to deliver 1 gram of protein at the plate. So they are considered the middlemen in the food system, which is leading to a lot of leakage. So that is what you can fix if you have a vegetarian alternative, which can give you the same experience. You don't need to compromise. And that's another thing. You need to give credible alternatives, credible options. That is when I think the industry will accept it and things will change.
Thank you so much, Pradeep. I think all of us on this panel and the general audience here recognize that we have a challenge on our hands. And like I started off saying that how can we look at it as not as incremental changes, but a very, very transformational change with a very regenerative mindset into product development that goes into preserving nutrition, preserving the planet, most importantly, making food accessible to those who really need it with the growing populations. Thank you to each one of you all for making time to be here and the very insightful discussions that we've had. Thank you so much.